What's important to know when drawing characters? What should I practice? I'm not making any progress. Am I stupid? Maybe. But more likely, you're just focusing on the wrong things. I've been a professional artist for over 20 years and I've been teaching art for over 10 years, so I'll condense all my experience, all my knowledge to show you exactly what to study, what to focus on to draw people better and faster. It's time for this week's episode of YouTube Art. Let's start the class by going over the main art skills that we need to draw people. Just like a video game character has the main skills that you get to use when playing, like agility, like stamina, strength, etc. Like as character artists, we also have stats that we should be looking to level up to draw better characters. So I'll go over those skills to identify them in the same order that you should learn them, and also what you should practice to level up those skills as fast as possible. And all this knowledge isn't free though. So make sure you pay the class fee of either 1 like or 1 sub before you continue, or your art will be cursed. But then again, maybe not. So the first skill that we should put points towards, the first ability you should focus on when starting on this journey would be gesture drawing. Gesture drawings are usually quick sketches of people, in various poses, usually done with the help of a photo reference or during a live session. And the way that I see gesture drawing in the context of learning art, characters specifically, is as a way to practice abstraction, simplification. I focus on this first, since it's important to train the eye to selectively remove information from what we observe. Not all the information we take in when we look at something is useful, and when practicing gesture drawing, what we want to observe would be only the gesture, which includes things like the pose of the model, the proportions of the body, the energy of the pose, what makes it not stiff, and we would want to essentially abstract out everything else. All the details go right out the window. For gesture drawing, I always recommend to my students short sketches of a few minutes, just enough to capture the essentials of what makes the pose work well. And you should practice this a lot and often. It's training wheels for your observation skill, but also it helps with your learning proportions, of course, posing and line confidence because of the time limit for each sketch. Honestly, if you could only practice one skill in this whole list, this would be it. It's by far the easiest in a way, yet the most beneficial skill to draw people. But if you want to get really good, you'll definitely need the other skills too. And well, the next one is construction. Construction is to drawing what recipes are to cooking. Recipes are meant as blueprints on how to achieve a certain result, right? Follow this recipe and you'll get a cake. And it's the same idea here. We want to practice constructing characters using a recipe or a construction method developed by a professional or a very experienced artist using only the bare minimum ingredients to keep things as simple as possible. So we're not really interested in details at this point, but we're very interested in the simple shapes, the simple volumes that make up the human body. And the ingredients that make up body construction are cylinders, boxes, spheres, and that's pretty much it. And so you should obviously make sure that you can first draw each of those volumes on their own, practicing this kind of simple drawings, because it's those ingredients that will be assembling to create the human structure. Kind of like getting familiar with each of the Lego block pieces before you assemble them to create something more intricate, more complex structure. We want to always go from simple to more complex. So the whole point with learning construction is to eventually be able to draw a simple person, without needing to look at any reference, to be able to draw it from memory. And that's going to give us just a basic, generic character frame that you can then build onto and add more details to. The body construction is important to learn, but don't forget the head construction, hands and feet too, if the goal is to draw whole characters. And lucky you, I have recipes for all of that on the channel. There's a lot to cover when it comes to drawing people, so this is the super short version, but if you're looking for more in-depth classes on the topic, a solid learning structure so that you're never wondering what to do next, relevant assignments, and an art community to level up together with, well, check out my art school program with the link in the video description. We just passed the 25,000 registered students milestone, which makes it the most popular art education in the world, thanks to all of you who joined already. And so I'm launching a short sale until the end of the month only to celebrate. And I don't want you to miss out before the sale ends, so make sure you check out the link down below. And with my shameless plug over, next on the list of skills is a big one: anatomy. Oh, Jesus. Once we have a character construction, a character that we've constructed using simple volumes, obviously it doesn't quite look finished. Anatomy is good to focus on next because we should have a good foundation by now to draw the anatomy on top of. That's what the construction was for. It already kind of looks like a human, but from this point, it should just be a matter of closing the silhouette, adding some muscle or bone definition, and now we're starting to get something that looks a lot more like a person, less of a wonky mannequin. And worth mentioning that the more you know your anatomy, the more you'll be able to effectively stylize your characters. It's very hard to have a style until your anatomy is good, because in a way it's just like customizing a cake recipe that you can barely bake properly as is, like following the recipe. I'll use the cooking analogy again, but you gotta learn the ingredients and how they work, before you can add your own twist to it. Good anatomy can almost carry all the other skills in the list. It's that important. And it's also pretty daunting since there's so much to learn. So what I would recommend is to start with the big groups of muscles first. Don't bother too much with the individual muscle. So groups to learn first, take note: shoulders, pecs, traps, abs, obliques, lats, glutes, quads, hamstrings, calves. Those should keep you occupied for a while. So practice drawing and memorize the groups of muscles first. It's way easier, and in most cases, it's actually all you'll really need. Now, as you noticed, our character is still naked. Oh, but that's the right process. It's much harder to draw well-structured characters when you don't break down the steps and go right into the outfit without a solid construction and good anatomy to support it all. The next skill would be to learn to draw clothing and folds. So find references of models wearing simple outfits that your characters are likely to wear often. Like stuff that you would typically draw, like pants, capes, maybe, dresses, shirts, and practice drawing folds by copying those references. Once again, focus on what you'll draw often and kind of ignore the stuff that you'll almost never draw. Because by just remembering those basic clothing items, you should be able to pretty much draw anything else by modifying them slightly. And if you're looking for really good reference packs, I'll put a link to where I get mine down in the video description again. Have a look, I'll link you to a gold mine. But yeah, this specific skill isn't nearly as important as anatomy, but oh boy, being able to draw nice folds adds so much to a character drawing, and most characters usually have clothes on, right? Most of them. I actually have a full class on this topic, so I'll keep this short, but you can check it out with the link that I'll be adding in the video description below if you need help drawing clothes. But check that later. Right now, we're moving on to the next point: design. Design is the most fun part, in my opinion. It's what makes the character cool, what makes it special. If it's a stylized character, what's stylized? How stylized is it? There are a few things to consider when approaching design. First, you'll want to make sure to have consistent shape language. What the heck? In a sense, it's the same idea as when you dress yourself up in the morning. You don't just toss on whatever you can grab first. Or maybe you do, I won't judge. But normally, you'll try to select clothes that match well together, right? Shape language is kind of like that, if colors weren't a part of it. So in its simplest form, these shapes together don't really work. Like this would be bad shape language. It looks like they're just randomly tossed together. Meanwhile, this looks more cohesive, more aesthetic, because the same shapes are repeated. There's like an order that was missing before. So good shape language is like the opposite of random or chaos. It's how well the different pieces and details of your character's outfit mesh together. Another thing that's important to mention in design is the hook of your character. The hook is how unique, how memorable your character is. So a character without a hook is a generic character, basically. It's boring. Now, there is a place for those sometimes, like if you're designing characters in a crowd or just random NPCs in a video games that aren't meant to be important. But if you want your characters to stand out, a hook is required. That's basically what makes it stand out. And what I usually tell my students is that you'll know you have a good hook if you can describe your character with a single sentence. The shorter the better, and have others easily pick it out from a crowd. And of course, it can be anything, really, but a strong design always features a hook. And the easiest hooks are often just famous color combinations. That can often be enough. Imagine Captain America if he were wearing different colors. Kind of a weak design. No hook, looks mid, but with the USA flags red, blue, and white, suddenly you know right away what he's about. And he can easily be described as something like the shield hero in the colors of the USA. and you would know right away that it's that guy. So first, gesture drawing, then construction, then anatomy, then moving on to drawing folds and focusing on design. Those are the skills that you would want to max out if you're looking to get better at drawing people. And that's going to be it for today's class. But wait, maybe my brushes will help too. So you can grab my starter brush pack down in the description. It's free just for you because I love you. But if you want me to keep making weekly videos like this, you know what to do. You know, share this with your art buddies, share it with your crush, share it with your dog, and smash that like